Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Gaming History, where we take a look at games that were cancelled or unreleased in certain countries. So far, we've focused on Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Donkey Kong, and other popular Nintendo and PlayStation games. Today, we are going to uncover the history and all of the facts about the top 5 cancelled Metroid games. We've gathered interviews from Nintendo, third-party developers, and the creators of the series to get as much information as possible on these lost games. If you have a favorite game or series you would like us to focus on next, please let us know in the comments below. If we feature a game you suggested, we'll give you a shout out in the video for bringing it to our attention. So please subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out when those videos go live. Number 5. Metroid 3DS, Next Level Games. Metroid Prime Federation Force is looked at with some controversy from the Metroid fanbase. Some love the experimentation and the fun multiplayer ideas, while others believe it completely ruins the Prime name. However you may look at it, you may be surprised to know that this wasn't Next Level Games' first shot at the Metroid series. Soon after the release of Metroid Other M in 2010, Nintendo decided to begin work on a new 2D Metroid game for its upcoming new handheld console, the Nintendo 3DS. Next Level Games was chosen to create this new game, but shortly after development began, the Metroid 3DS project was cancelled in favor of Luigi's Mansion: Dark Moon. After Luigi's Mansion was released, Next Level Games returned to their work on Metroid. However, it is unknown if they returned to the same project or completely scrapped it to work on Federation Force. Some look at hints from Miyamoto and Takashi for an explanation. In an interview with Kotaku, when Miyamoto was asked about the new Metroid games, he said, "The original creators of Metroid, and the director who was the director of the Metroid Prime games who worked under me when I was producing those both, now work for Mr. Takashi, so you'll have to ask him." In a separate interview with Takashi, when asked the same question about the new Metroid games, he said the following, "So it has been a while since we released the last one, and we're having discussions internally about what we can do next. So at this point, we have 2 different types of Metroid games. We have the Prime style of Metroid games, and we have the more traditional style of Metroid game. We feel that we need to take care of both of these styles of play. And the hope is that at some point in the near future, we'll be able to share something about them." While no video of gameplay exists, the 3DS Metroid game was confirmed to be a real game after concept art was leaked and an unknown source came forward, who many believe to be an employee still working with Next Level Games, stating, "Yes, that is real. That's the first I've actually seen of that concept art, but a prototype was made before being shelved in favor of Luigi's Mansion 2. It was about as bare bones as it gets, but it was still pretty fun."
Metroid Dread for DS. Metroid Dread for the Nintendo DS was originally revealed in 2005, believed to have been in development by Intelligent Systems, a Nintendo development company who worked on the original Metroid in 1986, Super Metroid in 94, several Wario games, several Mario spin-offs such as Mario Kart and Paper Mario, and just about every single Fire Emblem game to ever exist, ranging from the NES to even the recent Fire Emblem games for Nintendo Switch. The point is, for over 35 years, Intelligent Systems has been creating some of the best games that Nintendo has to offer, and are particularly responsible for the creation of the original Metroid, which makes it a huge shame that Metroid Dread was cancelled. It was going to be a direct sequel to 2002's Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance, which was developed by Nintendo R&D 1, who worked alongside Intelligent Systems on the original Metroid games. Metroid Dread first appeared in 2005 on an official internal software list made by Nintendo, which listed key DS games set to be announced in the future, which was literally an official document. Unlike those hundreds of fake E3 documents that are leaked every year. To date, every single game that was revealed on the list, aside from Metroid Dread, has been released. In 2005, Game Informer stated that the game was to be a 2D side-scroller and would follow the events of Metroid Fusion. In February of 2006, the official Nintendo magazine listed the game to launch in November of that year, but in the second issue of the magazine, it was just changed to 2006. In 2007, IGN discovered a scannable space pirate log with reference to Metroid Dread inside of Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. However, Nintendo denied the connection, saying this was just a coincidence. The message found within the game are as follows. Experiment status report update. Metroid Project Dread is nearing the final stages of completion. The adjacent terminal states that the project had failed. Experiment results unsuccessful. All attempts at using Metroids as a weapon power source have failed. In 2010, Yoshio Sakamoto, co-creator of the Metroid series, revealed that the game did exist at one point, and stated that if he were to return to it, he would prefer to reset the situation at once and start from scratch. An unknown Nintendo insider revealed that a working prototype of the game was created around 2008 and was supposed to be shown off at E3 of 2009, no longer using the Dread title, and it looked very similar to Fusion. Nintendo Software Technology, or NST for short, was chosen to work on the game, but after the failure of Project Hammer, they were dropped, moving Dread back into development limbo. A few people from Nintendo have spoken out, stating they have read the full story of the game and that the story was complete. Finally, during an interview, IGN asked Sakamoto if Metroid Samus Returns for the 3DS had any links to Dread. He stated, "I think it's better to say that this is a remastering of Metroid 2, a powered-up version of that game, and not something to do with the other project." He did, however, indirectly confirm the earlier statement by the anonymous NST developer about Dread having a dual screen setup with the map and UI on the bottom screen and the gameplay on the top screen.
Metroid 64 is cancelled before it even began development. Nintendo wanted, very badly, to create a 3D Metroid game on the Nintendo 64. However, they couldn't find a development team confident enough to take the chance. In an interview taking place on the launch day for Metroid Other M with Yoshio Sakamoto, co-creator of Metroid, he was asked about Metroid Dread, which we discussed previously in the rumored Metroid 64. He was asked if his apprehension over 3D gaming is why he never created a Metroid for Nintendo 64. He replied, "I was actually thinking about the possibility of making a Metroid game for N64, but I felt that I shouldn't be the one making the game. When I held the N64 controller in my hands, I just couldn't imagine how it could be used to move Samus around. So for me, it was just too early to personally make a 3D Metroid at that time." Also, I know that this isn't a direct answer to your question, but Nintendo at that time approached another company and asked them if they would make an N64 version of Metroid, and their response was that no, they could not. They turned it down, saying that unfortunately they didn't have the confidence to create an N64 Metroid game that could compare favorably with Super Metroid. That's something I take as a compliment to what we achieved with Super Metroid. When asked if he could say who the company was, he simply said, "Sorry, I cannot." Miyamoto, when asked about Metroid 64, stated, "Nintendo couldn't come out with any concrete ideas. Essentially, the main reason that a Metroid game didn't exist on the Nintendo 64 is because the creator of the series didn't know what to do with the N64 controller." However, this gave Nintendo an extremely early start with developing a Metroid for Nintendo's next console, the GameCube. Retro Studios was founded in 1998 for the sole purpose of creating games for the Nintendo GameCube. Their first project was to finally create the 3D Metroid game that Nintendo and fans had been asking for. Metroid Prime finally launched in 2002.
Metroid 2 DX for the Game Boy Color. This is another Metroid game that was never officially announced, but it did see some form of development. It was to be a Game Boy Color port of the original. Speculation of the game came in 1998. A German Club Nintendo magazine had a section revealing Nintendo's brand new handheld console, the Game Boy Color. As if this wasn't exciting enough, the image for the Game Boy Color showed what we were to believe to be a new Metroid game being played. For a while, some fans speculated that it was an entirely new fourth Metroid game that was designed specifically for this new console. However, now it is commonly thought to be a simple mock-up of what could have been Metroid 2 DX. Instead of Metroid 4. Perhaps Metroid 4 could be a bonus cancelled Metroid game. Anyways, the interesting thing here is that the image features an entirely new level, which is what fueled speculation of fans thinking it was Metroid 4. However, this new level could have been part of several new items, levels, enemies, abilities, and more added to the original game. This is something Nintendo has done before, one example being with Link's Awakening DX, which added an entirely new dungeon, the Color Dungeon, new gameplay mechanics, a camera shop, and many other upgrades. In 2009, one of Retro Studios' artists, Ben Sprout, had an interview where he stated, "I've always thought it would be awesome to remake Metroid 2. A group of us at Retro even discussed doing it as a side project at one point. Nothing ever came of it, though I still think it'd be fun to remake it as a 3D side-scroller. If the idea would have shaped into a full game, it would have been Retro's only handheld Metroid game, seeing as they had amazing success with the Metroid Prime series on the home console. It would have been interesting to see what they could have done with a handheld game." In 2016, a fan remake of Metroid 2 was released, called AM2R, short for Another Metroid 2 Remake, but was forced to be taken down by Nintendo. The following year, Metroid Samus Returns, an official remake of Metroid 2, was released by Nintendo for the Nintendo 3DS, with hopes from many fans that we will eventually see an HD Switch version. If you're watching this from the future, comment below and let us know if it has in fact released. It took Nintendo 17 years, but a full colored version of Metroid 2 finally released. Now let's just cross our fingers and hope for a similar remake for Link's Awakening or the Oracle games. Actually, if you're from the future, you might as well comment and let us know if those games are being remade as well.
Number 1. Metroid Prime 1.5 for the GameCube. Metroid 1.5 was a concept for a pseudo-sequel for the original Metroid Prime. It was created on the day the original game released in North America. The concept was named 1.5 and not 2 because it would have been a shorter adventure for Samus and not a full-length game. Everything you could hope to know about the project was written in a document used for the pitch. It included backstory, world layout, puzzle design and mechanics, co-op multiplayer, new enemy designs, new boss battle concepts, character info, new attacks, new abilities, new RPG mechanics, and much more. To make it simple, the document was basically a complete pitch covering almost every detail from the game that you could ask for. It was written by Tony Giovannini with artwork designed by Andrew Jones. It went over a decade without any public mention by Retro or Nintendo until early 2018 when Jack Matthews referenced the pitch in an interview. The full document is also available online to read for those who are curious, but if you would like, we could make a full video covering the complete document. It's just way too long to completely cover in a list video like this. It is unknown how far along in development the game made it, but after Metroid Prime 1 quickly became a success, the decision was eventually made to focus on a full sequel instead of this shorter experience. A lot of new ideas and concepts from Metroid 1.5 made their way into Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. However, as Metroid 1.5 was designed to be a shorter experience, a lot of changes were also made to adapt it into a full game. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes finally released in 2004, only 2 years after the original.